Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. As a heads up, I am coming off of being sick from COVID. It sucked. Do not recommend. I'm not going to do my webcam today because I think I'm well enough to record, but I'm still kind of like snotty and gross and occasionally getting bloody noses and all sorts of gross stuff like that. So I don't want to like catch any of that on camera. So today we're going to be playing with Isaac J's idea, which is a scheming symmetry deck list. They originally had the idea to play a white-black version of this, utilizing some of the cards from the Commander Search for Baldur's Gate set, but like those cards just barely exist on Magic Online and are so hard to like get a hold of right now that I have just like foregone that to play a mono black version. So apologies to the donor in that regard. You had some neat ideas there with the white cards. I just can't get them. All right. So the general idea is that we're going to play an opposition agent, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and read the full text of this. You control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exile, and you may spend mana as though they were mana of any color to cast them. The idea here is that we have opposition agent, which then is going to turn scheming symmetry into like a double tutor where we get both of the cards, which is super neat. And then we can do a lockout with Maralen of the Mornsong, which is going to be our primary win condition here, at least in theory. The players can't draw cards, and instead, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life, searches their library for a card, puts it into their hand, and then shuffles. So the idea is we control an opposition agent, and then we try to kind of like break symmetry on that harder than normal using scheming symmetry and Maralen of the Mornsong. Yeah, this is the deck idea in a nutshell. So there's some other things in white that exist that can kind of supplement this plan, like an Aven Mind Sensor can be a pseudo opposition agent with these things. Like that's kind of cool and good. And I think the other one was Archivist of Ogma to get some card draw effects when opponents search. And like that was a neat idea. But I think we're going to get better consistency staying in mono black so that all of our stuff can just be like dark ritualed out and so that we have a single color mana base here. The original version that I was sent had both Painter Grindstone combo and Helm of Obedience Dalthy Voidwalker combo. And I've cut the second combo. In playing a lot of mono black decks that look like this, I've found that you don't actually gain very much by like having 2 artifact-based combos in your deck. So I'm treating this as like a Painter Grindstone deck that can like tutor for that combo and kill that way. Or I'm treating this as a deck that can just like play an opposition agent into Maralen and lock our opponent out that way, with the 3 life being a realistic win condition. Like if I have a handful of these like air quotes hate bears in play, and like I can use those to damage my opponent while I have them otherwise locked out, like that sounds pretty good to me. I'm not sure how many profane tutors I should be running. This is a card that has impressed me quite a bit in these mono black deck lists. It's not good all of the time, but I figured having one to help me assemble my various combos in the deck was probably a good idea. And honestly, it may just be better to play like a playset of those and ignore the whole scheming symmetry like side of the thing as well. But you know, if we're going to try to go deep with opposition agent, like might as well go as deep as we can and kind of see how it goes. As far as the sideboard goes, here there's like ley lines and Dalthy Voidwalkers. Like even if I'm not going to play the Helm as a finisher, like that is still just like a very reasonable set of cards to be running if you are in a mono black deck. And then otherwise we have a little bit more removal, and this deck has opted to play some Ensnaring Bridges as a way to kind of stay safe. Because some of these combos will take a little while to get set up. I do want to draw attention to the Shadow Spear that is here. This is, I think, going to be very important if we end up lightning bolting ourselves a bunch of times with our little elf wizard friend here. And yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into things and see how they go. I'm not going to claim that I'm going to be playing 100% here. Still a little headachy. This is like a week and a half after my COVID symptoms started, and I'm still getting my ass kicked a little bit, but I think I'm well enough to record at this point. Likes and comments and such really matter today. I took a little over a week off of a break from content, which is not good as far as algorithm stuff goes. So doing the things that you normally do, even more important than normal today. You know, if I'm feeling better in a day or two, we'll get the camera back on and get everything back to 100%. Let's battle. Hey folks, Phil from the future here. I recommend round 3 of this video. Something interesting happens. So if you have time for one round, make it that one. And maybe skip round 1, is versus Delver. Delver's boring. Blah. Okay, I think I am going to keep my hand here. I have a piece of disruption. I have a piece of acceleration. And if this thing sticks, I can use this to get the other half of my combo. Speaking of other half of my combo, I think I'm just going to pass the turn with Dark Ritual, Opposition Agent up. It's just like so appealing here. Here we go! Here we go! Alright. Do I get to do the thing? Boo. Boo. Alright. So we are playing against a good deck, round 1. We're playing against Blue-Red Delver. Realistically, I don't really know how I win this matchup, just, like, being honest. As I think most worlds where I play this out and I don't have an opposition agent involve me giving my opponent a Murktide Regent that I can't beat. But we shall try. And on that note, I'm going to be thought seizing my opponent now, hoping to take out either a Murktide Regent or an Expressive Iteration. Oh man, they found a threat. Alright, can I actually play this card? I think the answer is no. If I play it, I have to Dark Ritual. Alright, you know what, let's see how the deck plays out. I can't play Painter Servant into Daze immediately. I think my opponent is just going to find, like, a Murktide Regent or a Lightning Bolt and take this out. And so, like, I just give my opponent the perfect card to answer my stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like, every one of these cards that I have that is just, like, reliant on Opposition Agent to be good, like, does not leave me in an okay position. And I think if I cast this, my opponent just gets a Murktide Regent and I can't beat it. Everything's black. Okay, so I know my opponent has a hard counterspell for any sort of Grindstone type card I play, which is not great. Also not great is my opponent, like, being able to attack me on a 2-turn clock. Yeah, like, I don't think I win the game if I play a Scheming Symmetry, right? Yeah, there's, like, no world in which that goes well for me. I guess I have to hold back the Painter on the off chance that the Delver doesn't flip, even though, like, my opponent, like, very clearly had the opportunity to set it up to flip. I eat 6 damage here. I'm dead next turn, and I have to figure out how to beat, like, Daze and Force of Negation. Oh. Well, okay, now I only have to figure out how to beat one of them, and at least in some worlds. But my opponent was just going to hold up the ability to hardcast that. No, I guess it's fine. Yeah, so, like, I'm just dead on board here. Concede. The good news is that I have some ways of shutting off the graveyard here. I've got Leyline of the Voids that I can bring in. I've got Dalthy Voidwalkers that I can bring in. And I guess I'm playing Ensnaring Bridges as well. They're, like, not actually that good, because my opponent will have Brazen Borrowers that can just bounce those things, and probably be playing Meltdowns as well. I can also consider playing Feed the Swarm, depending on how much stuff I want to sideboard out. If I'm going to bring in this many cards, I probably have to cut some amount of the cuteness. So some of Maralen, Scheming Symmetry have to go. I want Pithing Needle on for putting on Wasteland, given that I only have 4 Urza Sagas as wastelandable lands. That's probably not worth a card. Probably cut the Profane Tutor. Probably cut the Retrofitter Foundry. Will still be 4 more cuts if I want to play all of this stuff. Probably just junk Thoughtseize and call that good. I don't know, like, Dark Confidant, not the best card in the world when I'm boarding in Leyline of the Voids, but Bob is Bob, and I probably need some raw power of some kind. Possible I could cut a couple Bobs for a couple Plague Engineers. They, like, technically do stuff if I also have a Leyline effect in play. Alright, what are we looking at? So, I have a Dark Ritual. Guess I'll keep this hand. This is essentially a hand that I'm looking to do cool things with, like Urza Saga and Painter Servant. I am not sure how I am supposed to use my Dark Ritual. I think I am just going to use it on turn 1 to floop a Painter Servant into play and be good with that. Everything is black. Call it a turn. Like, it's possible I'm supposed to, like, use that to get out the Ensnaring Bridge, but that, like, makes my life a little more awkward in some scenarios. Okay. Am I eating a turn 1 Lightning Bolt on Painter? Okay, my opponent is just fetching around Opposition Agent. That's reasonable. I'll crash in for my 1 point of damage here. Kind of hope to draw a land from here. Sure, that's fine. I need more mana right now. Like, I've probably slowed down my opponent quite a bit, but I'm not actually doing anything on my own that wins the game here. That's fine. Okay, good. I hit the land drop. The land drop was super important. Now I can actually make Urza Saga Construct tokens, and I don't have to just, like, feed the Swarm, the Dragon Rage Channeler. Alright, opponent's got another land drop. That's fine. I have a removal spell for the Delver that I'll use eventually. Cool, and it doesn't seem like opponent has an immediate removal spell for my Urza Saga token. Otherwise, they probably would have just attacked in and forced me to do it then. Or they could just be waiting a turn to just get better value off a Meltdown or whatever. That's very possible too. I will just be picking up a Shadow Spear here, and we're looking to just play a fairer game of Magic. This Shadow Spear equipped to one of these, so they turn into 4/4s that can't be lightning bolted. Ash in for 3. I assume opponent is just taking that. And now the big question is, like, do they actually have a Meltdown caliber card that is going to wreck me? Because if the answer is no, like, I probably run away with this game pretty quickly. Cool. Alright, I'm very dead. Like, it'll take a while, but, like, that was my entire plan. And if my opponent can defend Delver from this Feed the Swarm, I'm just going to have nothing left. Okay, opponent's holding up something here. Do I want to take another hit from Delver to try and play this around Daze? I don't think I can, honestly. Like, I think every one of these hits is just catastrophic. Alright, the Delver died. That's really good for me. Getting Brazen Borrowed? Yeah, we are. Okay. That means a Murktide Regent potentially happens in a turn or two here. And since I'm stuck on land, this Ensnaring Bridge isn't gonna save me. Okay, there is a second expressive iteration. Junked a Wasteland. Okay, I take 1 here. Alright. So I can do that. Nice, because they junked a Wasteland. I don't think I'm gonna end up making any Urza Saga tokens with this Urza Saga. Like, I could be wrong. But I think the pressure on my life total is about to be very real. I'm gonna go ahead and drop in a Dalthy Voidwalker. Possible I'm just supposed to drop Bridge now. But I see Bridge as about the only way that I'm winning this game. So I'd rather sandbag that one for a little while longer. Yeah. Opponent junking a Murktide Regent. Because that is the 4th type for Dragon Rage Channeler. Alright, here comes a Delver to supplement the plan. So I'm going to take 6 next turn, followed by 9. Is not great. So my Ensnaring Bridge doesn't actually save me any life yet. I'm going to go ahead and just drop a Leyline of the Void, and then hope that I can wiggle into a situation where I resolve an ensnare. Oh, there's Force of Negation. Yeah, okay, we can. Well, I guess I could technically draw a Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's not gonna do it. I will concede here. GG's. Yeah, like it's too hard to play something this cute versus Delver. Like it's just not happening. All right, I've kept my opening hand here. We're playing with a Yorion deck of some kind. Sorry, against a Yorion deck of some kind, rather. I have a relatively fast Goldfish if my opponent is just, like, actually playing Death and Taxes. Okay, nice. So I have the option to just play turn 1 Urza Saga, turn 2 Painter, turn 3 Goldfish my opponent, which I think I am going to attempt to do. I don't really want to drag the game on versus a Death and Taxes deck. They just are going to have so much interaction as this game goes long. I'd rather not mess around with that at all. Okay, there's a Grindstone I have just naturally drawn. I will just attempt to carve out and kill my opponent. Everything's black. Thalia crashes in. I don't want to block because of another one of those, potentially. You can have your 2 free points of damage. I am fine going to 18. Okay. I'll float my mana. Pick up a Grindstone. I'll play this. If I'm willing to use the Dark Ritual, I can just do this on my opponent's turn. Sounds good to me. Alright, well, you need a Solitude or you're dead for that. So there's the Dark Ritual. Yeah, it was a trap. Yeah. Alright, what do we have for this deck? Plague Engineers sound good. I don't know about Ensnaring Bridge. My opponent just has, like, so many, like, Flicker Wisps and Skyclades and stuff that just, like, bounce these out of the way. Kind of on board for a little bit more removal in the form of Feed the Swarm. How do I feel about Scheming Symmetry? It just gives my opponent, like, so many different outs to my things. A lot of them can mess around with my stuff at instant speed via Vials. I don't really think I can play that card here. I mean, more generally, I don't really think the card is legacy viable. But we'll try. I feel about Daffy Voidwalker just as a shadow creature. I don't love it, I don't hate it. I think I'm probably losing the game if I am going for, like, Retrofitter Foundry shenanigans. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and we'll just go a little heavier on removal. Okay, I think I'll keep this opening hand here. Like, Opposition Agent is just objectively a good card versus my opponent's deck. Alright, are we starting on a Vial? We're starting on a Deafening Silence, which I'm not really sure why my opponent brought that in. Like, I will probably not cast 2 non-creature spells in a turn. Like, I have Dark Rituals as, like, things that matter. But I don't think that was worth a slot here. Okay, there's a Field of Ruin, sure. If I can do something that's not Bob this turn, I might do something that's not Bob. Just because, like, playing something directly into Source to Plowshares here kind of sucks. So I think I'm just going to play out another Grindstone and then pass with Dark Ritual Opposition Agent up. Like, I can cast a non-creature into a creature just fine. And then if my opponent uses their mana on, you know, basically literally anything, I'll fire off Opposition Agent. Okay, they're just making a land drop here, that's fine. So that's fine. That has Flash, I'm not sure why you're doing it now. Also not sure why you're doing that now. Like, if I have 2 Grindstones, like, they don't individually matter. Okay, whatever. Dark Ritual, Opposition Agent. See if this eats a Solitude. A Thoughtseize. That's cool. I'll attack first. And notice here, like, I'm still going to get to double spell around Deafening Silence. That drops opponent to 17. Thoughtseize my opponent. Okay. That's fine. That was kind of something that I suspected. Goodbye, Opposition Agent. We'll see if they have a land or if I actually get a spell. Okay, they've gotten a Gonjo. I'll play a Bob. Like, super awkward to have that. A Gonjo in hand. Like, they need that second white pip. But, like, that's also their combat trick. Yeah, so they're going to miss a land drop in order to hold this up as a removal spell, which I'm not sure actually makes sense. But that's okay. Alright, this is just going to be Swamp Pass. I don't actually want to manually grindstone my opponent. Like, that's not realistic when they're playing a Yorion deck. And they also randomly could have, like, Timeless Dragon. Fine, I'll take 2 from Thalia. Okay, they're not going to attack. And now they're going to play that out as a land. Presumably put Yorion in hand. Yep. Alright, Bob, find me something. Swamp. Followed by Swamp. Cool. 4 swamps in a row on top of deck. Cool. And Mom is fine. That's another thing that can just eat it to a Plague Engineer at some point. Yep, absolutely. Looks like I'm not taking damage immediately. Alright, Bob. Find me a painter. With the Thoughtseize. Honestly, like, taking that Yorion before it becomes a problem is totally fine. Alright, so goodbye, Yorian. Hello, second Bob. Let's find a painter and end this game. My opponent can turn the corner on this game relatively quickly if they just start attacking with Thalia. Yeah, there we go. Absolutely just eat that damage. The Labyrinth is fine. Bob doesn't technically draw cards. Alright, Bobs. Hey, it's a painter, we win. Alright. Yeah. Painter. Everything's black. Grindstone. Target you. And we get the match win there. It doesn't feel good, but we got it. Alright. No lands. Absolute easy mulligan. This one's fine. I'm gonna need more. Like, I need stuff to go with this. But, like, I absolutely don't mind a hand that has, like, 4 lands and a Bob to give me the fuel I need to actually get somewhere. Oh, my opponent sent me a nice little message. Oh, you can see the nice little message today. Usually I'm, covering up a portion of the screen down there with my beautiful visage. Ooh, we playing against elves? Might be playing against elves. If this is a Cloud Post deck, it would be weird to play Forest before Once Upon a Time. Elvish Reclaimer's still a little bit ambiguous. Ooh. That's going to be a Dryad Arbor. Opposition Agent, probably going to be good in this matchup one way or another. Hey, it's another one. Let's try to get Bob going. So, are we elves or are we 12 post? We are elves. So, Opposition Agent will do some serious work in terms of, like, me not getting just natural ordered into the Stratosphere. But I have to come up with a win relatively quickly. I think just playing Opposition Agent in this turn cycle is better than most other things. And I think I'd rather hold back Bob. I don't know, maybe my opponent attacks into Opposition Agent if I swing out Bob. Let's swing out Bob. Get in there, little buddy. Get you a taste of the red zone. This, to me, just, like, screams I have Opposition Agent, but see if my opponent plays into it. Yep. Actually, I think I need to play this here in response. Makes things a little less awkward for me in terms of, like, triple tapping for mana. Okay. That's a lot of elves. Alright, no attacks. Scheming Symmetry. I mean, yeah, I'm into that. I think I want to start with a Thoughtseize. Let's take out whatever's in hand. Oh, it's an Endurance? Okay. There's a Progenitus. You know what? Progenitus can chill in hand. I am okay with that. This makes the Painter Servant kill more awkward, doesn't it? So I actually do want to take this Progenitus, don't I? I want to take this Progenitus, let it get shuffled back in, and then Scheming Symmetry it out of my opponent's deck. Okay, that's weird. Okay. Yeah, that's super weird. Alright. I target you and me with Scheming Symmetry. So I have Painter's Servant, so I'll pick up a Grindstone on my end. And then on your end, I'm going to take your Progenitus and just let that chill in exile. And then I'll play Painter's Servant and make everything black. Okay, alright. Heather, this is a strange game. If you end up watching this later. I don't think ever jumped through a weird hoop like that to take out a Progenitus. There's a bunch of stuff sending sideways. It's relatively safe because, like, Wirewood can do cool, blocky things. So what do I want my opponent to have to bounce? Make them have to bounce that. I guess I can do this with a couple creatures and guarantee that something at least dies. I don't need Bob anymore. Like, game's over. Okay, so there's a bounce. You'll kind of end up ahead on that combat. There's a glimpse. That's totally fine. And there's another one. Again, totally fine. I guess there's worlds where I can eat another Endurance. Was there another Endurance in my opponent's deck? Or was it just a one-of? I guess that's my opponent's out. There's the Grindstone. Okay, that is GG. All right. What do I have for this matchup? Plague Engineer is great. I'll probably play Feed the Swarm. Also, like, we did get proof of concept that Scheming Symmetry can win games. Like, that just happened. Let's praise that. My opponent has this Progenitus. Heather, what are you gonna do with that Progenitus? Are you gonna leave that in your deck? Kind of relevant information for me. Progenitus is a replacement effect too, right? Yeah, if it would be. Okay. So I can't surgical that out like I can in Emrakul, for example. This is gonna be slightly awkward, isn't it? I'm gonna assume I don't need Retrofit or Foundry. I'm going to assume that in most rounds I have to cut the scheming symmetries. Am I playing? I probably need to like play Douthie Voidwalkers to just have another thing that mucks with graveyards. And what's my cut from there? Am I just like cutting Pithing Needle? Maybe cut one Maralen. I'm worried about just getting beaten down, even if I do assemble the opposition agent combo. Ooh, turn 1 Plague Engineer. I like that a lot. Yeah, I'll be keeping this. Like, I get to Plague Engineer away some early elves, and then like Sudden Edict away a Reclaimer or something like that. Okay, good. I did not eat an immediate Thoughtseize, which really would have picked apart this hand. Like, it would not have been good for me. I will absolutely just immediately Dark Ritual and get rid of the elves. All right, goodbye, Birchlore Rangers. We'll see how much of a damper that puts on my opponent's hand. I get to just like take out a Reclaimer or something this turn while also like doing Sudden Edict. That's very strong for me. That does not bode well. Next turn I can like Thoughtseize and Edict or something. I don't know, like the Urza Saga is a little awkward here. I don't think I want to play that out yet. I think I want to hold my Urza Saga for at least one turn. And I don't think I have to Thoughtseize yet. There's like very few cards that I truly care about my opponent casting on 3 mana. Like Grist would be really annoying. Okay. The opponent is hitting land drops. That's good for them. But I'm very far ahead here now. Ooh, opposition agent is really strong. Is this the Urza Saga turn? This shuts off Green Sun, which is such a great tool. I think this is probably the Urza Saga turn. I'll bash in for 4. I think this is just a time where, like, I am likely to just beat my opponent to death, like, via, like, tempo bears. There's a Cradle. Now, this doesn't mean my opponent has nothing. Like, just clarifying this. Like, this very much could be an Endurance, but with a Sudden Edict up, I'm pretty safe. Do your thing, Bob. Maralen. Don't mind if I do. Wish I had one more mana. I think this is a, like, beggars can't be choosers situations. Like, I'm very far ahead here. I expect a Endurance to get flashed in. Yeah, there we go. And then I'll go ahead and just split second to this now. And then this makes it so that, yeah, there we go. All right, we have gotten the GGs. So we are 2-1 right now, and that round felt like I was in control. I think we might be okay versus decks that don't have a lot of creature removal. Like, we might actually get to execute our cute combo versus like these monocolored decks. All right, this is round 4. I have a relatively good mix of lands and spells here. My Grindstone doesn't do anything immediately, but like my opponent doesn't necessarily know that. More Delver? Sir, I heard you enjoyed playing against Delver in round 1, so we brought it back for round 4. Well, all right. What is a daze and why would I care? Oh, didn't get dazed. Nice. Probably just means I'm going to get bolted in some capacity. Ooh. Ooh. Am I blocking? I think I'm blocking. I don't have, like, any form of removal here. Like, let's trade. All right, you've got another one. You have another 2 of them. Okay. What are the chances I can get to 5 mana in a single turn to just, like, play this and go? Unsure. I think I'm just going to hold up Opposition Agent for this turn cycle. Like, I don't care if the opposition agent gets countered all that much. The world in which I care about this is, like, the world where my opponent hits me for 6 this turn because I play this opposition agent. Like, the worlds where my opponent lightning bolts this opposition agent so that my painter servant potentially lives, like, I like those worlds a lot. Unfortunately, this is going to be one of those timelines where I am taking 6 damage this turn, which probably means I don't get to play around anything. I just have to, like, jam or die. I am so tired of playing against this deck. Alright, I have very few outs from here. My opponent just has 6 points of pressure in play already. Like, I'll shut off their Wasteland in case my Urza Saga can pretend to do something, but I'm gonna take 6 here, go to 8, taking 6 more next turn. Means I can't really play out Maralen and use her tutor ability. Dead. I think I basically have to like a Painter Servant this turn and then activate it next turn. Yeah, if I draw Painter Servant next turn, that's not fast enough. Like, I play it, and then I'm 2 mana short of activating it, and I'll just be dead. Not to mention the Lightning Bolt that my opponent just gets. So I have exactly 1 out, I think. Which is play Dark Confidant and have Dark Ritual as the card that I reveal, putting me to 1 life, and then Painter's Servant as the top card in my deck beyond that. Am I dead to Bolt? Oh, it's Predict, sure. So this version may have, like, Ledger Shredders, just something to keep in mind. Not guaranteed. There's a few versions of, air quotes, Blue-Red Delver running around. Some of them have Ledger Shredders, some of them just have Predict, some have both. Am I dead? The Fatal Push. That's a Lightning Bolt, sure. Alright, Concede. I just don't think we have game versus this deck. It's too good and we're doing something too cute. We'll probably board the same way, roughly, as before. So I think I brought these in. These in. I guess I played Bridge, too. How did I go down on these? Can I even, like, play Maralen? Maybe I can't play Maralen. Maybe Scheming Symmetry is better. I don't know. Maybe I cut both of those and just try to play as reasonable of a painter deck as I can versus this opponent. Like Retrofitter Foundry out. Pithing Needle out. That's 62 still. That still requires cuts from here. I can go down some Thoughtseizes. Just don't like losing the life. My life points are so precious. Maybe I can play a Hymn to Turok over a random Thoughtseize. I don't know. Like, there's also the problem of, like, Bob's plus ley lines. Nope. Yes, I keep this. Bob plus Bridge is a little bit of a combo. I'll assume that Bob will die, and that problem will sort itself out. Yeah. Alright. No turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler. I don't actually care about this Bob. I'm just gonna play it. I don't care if it gets dazed. I don't care if it gets bolted. Like, my long-term plan is get Hellbent with Ensnaring Bridge and win the game that way. Like, that's the game plan. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to just jam Bridge next turn or if I'm supposed to play Painter. That is unclear to me. Okay, yes, this version does have Ledger Shredders. That probably makes me want to just play the Bridge. Although, I don't know, like, I can wait till this gets a couple counters on it, and then, like... Yeah, I can force a counter on it this turn, actually. I think I like that. Alright, everything's black. I will play the Shadow Spear. Like, you can connive. Junking a Murktide Regent, that's fine. And then if I can play this Ensnaring Bridge around Daze, that would be pretty cool. Sure. Okay. What do you need to fetch for? Gonna eat a Meltdown? Eating a Lightning Bolt? Alright, so I'm gonna eat 3 from this turn, and then hopefully have, like, the problem checked with Ensnaring Bridge. Although if I keep drawing fat things like that I can't actually cast, like, that is a real problem. Alright, opponent looking for an answer to it. Okay, cool. It's resolved. Like, that doesn't mean a ton at the end of the day, right? Because, like, Brazen Borrower sort of things can happen. They just have the meltdown. Cool, cool. Alright, we're dead. We're not dead. It's a Christmas miracle. Now, there's probably another Meltdown in there, and maybe a Brazen Borrower or two that can bounce that out of the way. So, like, we absolutely cannot start celebrating yet. Sure. Okay, just trading for a Force of Negation is totally fine with me. Dragon Rage Channeler is fine, although it does make all of my opponent's cantrips noticeably better. Okay, there's another Ledger Shredder. This is an insane amount of selection. Also, the Dragon Rage Channeler and the smaller Ledger Shredder could have, in theory, done some attacking, if not for this draw. I still think my opponent is very favored. They are just going to build up a board that kills me in a single swing, and then, like, use all of the card selection available to them to find their other Meltdown. Or Brazen Borrower. There's a Null Rod. That makes it significantly harder for me to actually physically win the game. Alright, land go. It's going to be a very boring game of Magic, unfortunately. It's one that I'm just, like, incredibly unlikely to be able to win. So now, like, this Ensnaring Bridge is just going to get countered on the way back down again. And there's not really anything I can do about that. So there's the bridge. There's the counterspell. And we can move on with our lives. We're never beating this deck or anything that looks like it. Okay, I'm a little light here on mana with this hand. It's really good if I draw a second land, but I think I just need to ship it. Yeah, I'll keep this one. We'll throw back the Scheming Symmetry and probably just play this one out like it's a normal painter game. Like, if I had an opposition agent, I would be so on board with keeping Scheming Symmetry, but I don't. Just anything but Blue-Red Delver. My heart's not in it. This is Wooded Foothills into Volcanic Island, I'm a scream. Okay, it's not. Are we playing elves? Okay, we are potentially playing against elves. In which case, I just have a very fast goldfish. Redundant goldfish at that now. I can just go 4 mana and play double Painter's Servant here, which seems fine. Here's my first painter. Everything's black. Here's my second painter. You know what? We're going to paint it black again. There's very few cards in my opponent's deck that interact with me at this point. They exist, but it's like Collector Oof, which would have to naturally be in hand. I guess they could Green Sun for it now. Alright, that's a lot of elves. I guess endurance is a thing that matters. Alright, they've passed the turn. I'm just gonna do it now. There's some worlds where I end up having to activate this again next turn. That is not gonna do what you want it to do. I'll pick up a swamp. That whole thing happens. And, like, my Grindstone ability still resolves, so they just punted that, right? Like, they could have destroyed the Grindstone on their turn, and then I would have had nothing. Yeah, they threw that game away. I'm just taking a quick look here. If anything stands out, there's one endurance. One endurance that I care about. There's a Collect Roof. There's a Seiju. Okay. So what do we want versus elves? This player, I should have paid more attention. I didn't see a Progenitus at a glance. Doesn't mean there's not one in the sideboard that could come in, but the thing. I think Scheming Symmetry is actually just a fine Magic card in this matchup. Yeah, that's not true. My opponent, like, can just find Endurance. Maralen or Scheming Symmetry, worse. Unsure. Don't really feel like I need Needle or Retrofitter Foundry. Those can go. And then I cut some number of, like, Profane Tutor, Scheming Symmetry, Maralen to round out the deck. And I don't know where exactly to go with that. It's also possible that, like, I do have to play a Delphi Voidwalker effect of some kind to help with beating a Progenitus sort of card. I think I'm going to junk the Symmetries, play one random Hymn to Torok because it's lucky. I'll be taking no questions at this time. I mean, I've got Plague Engineer in the opening hand. This is a keep. Yavimaya in the Heritage Druid, sure. I'm just going to try to use Thoughtseize to punch a hole so that I can easily survive another turn or two. Oh, Yeah, this'll be fine. I can just take their Greenstone and then play an Urza's Saga game. And just ignore the Abrupt Decays. I think I like that. It's a little weird. Because, like, normally I wouldn't think of, like, Urza Saga being particularly good in this matchup. Like, this is a tutor for something that potentially, like, very actively beats me. There's an Elvish Reclaimer. I don't love that. I'd probably end up feeding that to the Swarm this turn. Alright, am I playing an Urza Saga this turn? I don't know that I am. Like, I still have plenty of mana worth of stuff to do. Let's just take out the X2 creature. Then I can get a 2-for-1 with Plague Engineer. Okay. You're just fetching for the sake of fetching around Opposition Agent. That's totally fine. Okay. That's a land that I had not seen yet. Yeah, I can start working towards this as a kill. By, like, doing other things that will force Abrupt Decays out of hand. So this gets me my 1 guaranteed elf. And then it will eat an Abrupt Decay. Absolutely worth it. Are we doing a Dryad Arbor? We're doing a Dryad Arbor. They okay with me. Visionary, very good here. And I'll take 1. I'm at 14. I have to put myself into a situation where if my opponent ever drops this Abrupt Decay, I can probably kill my opponent. I think I'm just going to get another Urza Saga ticking up here. And be fine with this. Or are those elves coming in? They are not. That's fine. Make some constructs. So I think I'm fine just doing this. I just pick up a Shadow Spear. I'm fine with just attacking with a 3/3. I think I am. Yeah. There's some worlds where my opponent just Abrupt Decays this token. This is not one of those worlds. Bob? I think I play out a Bob. It's like, Bob is probably good enough to get that decay. And then there's a decent number of worlds where, like, I just draw a 5th mana source and get to full Painter combo my opponent next turn. Okay, looks like I've dodged some of the scary stuff. Yeah. I think I'm fine with going for the combo here. Grab a Grindstone. Make my land drop. Play a Painter Servant. Everything's black. The combat, crash in for 10. My opponent will take. I'll go ahead and go to their upkeep and attempt to Grindstone them out. Fine. And attempt Grindstone. Okay, that's good enough to get there. So we have a 3-2 where our only losses were to Blue-Red Delver. That feels pretty good to me. Why don't I go ahead and come on here on camera for the wrap-up. Overall thoughts on the deck list here. I think it's really hard to try to go and build around Opposition Agent having to stick around in play, right? Like, this thing is a 3/2 creature, which means that it's going to die to your Lightning Bolts, it's going to die to Swords of Plowshares, it's going to die to Abrupt Decay. Like, most things that can kill a creature are going to hit Opposition Agent. And things like Thoughtseize often have to take your opponent's most important cards that, like, they are proactively using, rather than the things that will keep Opposition Agent alive. And so, like, while the whole Opposition Agent scheming Symmetry thing, like, is super cool, and, like, using that to tutor up a missing combo piece is super sick, I don't know that this is going to be better than a lot of the other mono black decks that are playing the same general core. I just kind of think on the, like, line of, like, good versus cute, like, we're just a little too far in the cute territory. I will say I loved the rock solid mana base here. I'm in some ways very happy that we did not play another color, which would have made me more susceptible to wastelands and things of that nature. I just don't think this strategy is super viable. Like, we got ranched by Delver, like, and the games weren't close, did not feel competitive at all, and I don't think adjusting the deck list in any way really, like, makes that not the case, right? And, like, I think some of my wins in this league against like the non-Delver players shouldn't have happened. Like, I think the Death and Taxes player didn't sideboard well for the matchup. Like the two Deafening Silence that they drew, like it did not hinder me at all. For example, and like one of the plays that Death and Taxes player made, like potentially lost them a game. I think it was an Elves player used poor timing of Boseiju and lost the game because of it. I think there are just like, we put up a 3-2. We put up a positive finish with this, but I don't think we deserved it. Like we won games specifically because my opponents messed up, and we didn't win games because of like the objective strength of this deck, which is like probably a bad sign. I think this is a mediocre Urza Saga deck in that like we're not running Ancient Tomb, so we don't get like Urza Saga Ancient Tomb starts as something that like we can just powerfully do. We also don't have Ancient Tomb to power out like the Painter combo faster. And another problem here is like we have all of these like mid-game mana sinks, so we don't necessarily even need Urza Saga as a mid-game mana sink, and like you're often like choosing to activate Urza Saga versus like play out the cards that your deck is built around. So ultimately, this one gets a thumbs down from me. I just don't think the strategy is all that viable in Legacy in the first place, and with like Delver being as good as it is, if you don't have at least a respectable Delver matchup, like your deck's not competitive, and I think that's kind of where we ended up here. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, throw me a like on the way out, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!